And welcome to another edition, Keeping It Orange and Blue. I'm Ryan Evan, joined as always by Urbana's finest, Kevin Ducey. What's happening, Kev?
Not much, man. It's just just kind of a sad day. Obviously in Illinois land, Vontae Davis, rest in peace. Illinois, great football player. And then also this is they like to call it in the journalism world the obit of the 2023-24 season. We saw some Illini play their last games in Illini uniform, and it's always a sad thing. I will say this though. I think one of the more troubling losses that you have when you're a fan and your team gets to this level is when you lose a game and you're like, man, if we'd have done, if that layup just would have went in, or if that shot that rimmed out, you think about Luther Head's shot in the 05 title game. You're like, man, if that would have just went in. We got beat by a better team on Saturday. I mean, that's just all there is to it. They're better. I don't think anybody's beating them. I really think it's going to be Purdue and them, and I think that'll be a great national championship game a week from tonight. And we didn't play. I mean, listen, they're not 25 points better than us. We played like crap.
In the second half, yeah.
Yeah, we played really well all game.
A 30-0 run is just really unheard of in division top level basketball.
Yeah, unless you're playing. I think we might have done it to Longwood back in the day. Longwood's actually pretty good now. They're in the tournament. But,
you're right. I think offensively in the first half, Illinois wasn't good against Yukon. Defensively, they were pretty good.
We're really good defensively, but really, really bad offensive game all the way around. I will say this: I think the strategy to get Donovan Clingan in foul trouble on the surface looked really good. We didn't adjust quick enough, and it happens. I don't know if it would have made much of a difference. We would have had to hit from three. We would need guys to play well who didn't play well. A lot of guys had, Terrence is probably poorest game of the season. I think Ty Rogers had a really rough game. I think he saw some of his emotions on the bench, not only with the season being over, but I think he knows he didn't play well. I think Quincy Guerrier obviously got a lot of flack from the announcers, and probably rightfully so. Should have shot the threes when he had them. I think Coleman played one of his poorer games. I think he could have taken the ball to the cup a little bit more. So it's just, it's one of those things. You chalk it up. You lost a game. You won 29 games. You won the Big Ten tournament. You won 14 games in conference. You were ranked around the top 10 all season long. You made it to an Elite Eight. It's a very, very successful season. The barometer for this season, every Illinois fan would say it, and I know that there's some Underwood haters out there that want to move the goalpost, but was to make it to the second weekend. Not only did we make it to the second weekend, we won a game in the second weekend. So it was a great season. It's, probably a top 5-6 season of my lifetime, and, chalk it up. Great, phenomenal.
Yep.
You lost. You didn't win the Big Ten because the Big Ten has a generational player. Arguably, if Purdue happens to win a title, Zach Edey could go down as the greatest college basketball player of all time. I mean, literally, Jared Burgess was doing all these stats I saw today about how he could possibly be the greatest college player, and he had a bunch of stats to back it up, and I can't argue with it. So
think about that. I'm just going to piggyback that a little bit. I want everybody to know this. What was it? The Ken Palm era? I think you may have mentioned it. This Yukon team, I tweeted it, is the third or fourth most either efficient or productive team in the history since Ken Palm has been.
Yes.
Only the 2015 Kentucky team, the 2008 Kansas team, and one other team. And by the way, if anybody wants to know, that's 25 seasons.
No.
So this team would be favored against every team in the last 25 years, but 3. Yukon. So think about that. Illinois 29-9. 3 of their losses this year were to maybe one of the best teams in the last 25 years, and a team that has maybe the best college basketball player that's ever played.
Yeah, that stood in our way from winning a Big Ten title. I mean, in 2 seasons.
And a Final Four. Illinois just happened to be in Yukon's region.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to play Clemson.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would have loved to play Bama. I would have been okay playing Duke, too.
Right. Yeah, or Houston, especially after Jamal Shed got hurt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I love these little breaks, and I'm
Well,
really
and
happy.
actually, those are the teams that, like, you look at Illinois, and this is something we talk about. It leads into the transfer portal. Is the teams that hurt us all year are teams with a dominant big, and Yukon most certainly has that, and Purdue most certainly has that, and those were the two key factors to keep us from getting to certain places in the season that we wanted to go. In the last 2 seasons, Zach Edey has 1,683 points and 890 rebounds. All right, to put that into perspective, Illinois' all-time scoring leader before Deion Thomas broke it was Eddie Johnson at 1,600 and some points. 890 rebounds in 2 seasons for Zach Edey, I think, would put him 3rd or 4th in Illinois history. That's in 2 seasons. No player in a 4-year era has posted that many points and rebounds over a 2-year span. The last player to do it in college basketball history was 66 to 68, and that was Elvin Hayes. So what Zach Edey, and I know we all want to hate on him because he's always just big. Dude, he just had 40 and 16, and I know he got a lot from the free throw line. The guy's a phenomenal basketball player, and he's a game changer, and he changes everything from offense and defense. And Clingan showed us a little bit of that too. Clingan really impressed me. I do think they were a little light with the whistle in the first half, and and some of the things could have went our way, but we lost to a better team. And now it's unfortunate. We got to, what's next? Where do we go? So.
Yeah. So now, just before we move along a little bit, I know there's some guys though that you wanted to talk about. I think we owe them 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, 29-9, 3rd most wins in program history. They hung another banner. They're going to hang another Big Ten tournament title banner. They're going to get more rings, and they're going to do this at the start of next year. And you know what? To me, that always just makes you feel good because you still get to kind of celebrate last year when the start of the year. This will be the 3rd time that we've got to do that in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
That first home game, that they get to celebrate it. You see the banner, they get their rings, and that just sets the mood and the tone for the team. Like, that's what we do here, at Illinois. And that is what they've been doing the last 4 years, Kevin.
And it's being noticed. And we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yes. So I had a nice little video I made. I took 10 minutes to reflect after the Yukon game Saturday night. And I just really needed to get it out. And just because you think how much we've invested in these guys the last 6 months, Like, we think about it like every day. We talk about it so much every week. And guys are finishing up their careers, and it's just, you see Ty Rogers was hurt so bad. I know he's going to miss the guys, and seeing Terrence Shannon, crying on the sidelines, inevitable. But what Marcus Domask, I think, proved not only to himself, but to every program that probably doubted him. Can you play at that level? Well, let me tell you, Marcus Domask was the best player on Illinois against Yukon. He had the only triple-double in the school's history in the NCAA tournament, and something only 9 other gentlemen in the history of the NCAA tournament have done. Marcus Domask, you should take a bow because you had a hell of a season.
Yeah, absolutely. We were so privileged and lucky to have him on after he committed to Illinois. It was a godsend for us and love for if folks who want go listen to that. We didn't know what we had. I mean,
Ryan and I didn't. I was like, I think he might lead us to score one night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kev was like, I think he might be a starter. We're like, oh, bold prediction.
Well, no, he was all Big Ten first team. The guy was and ended up being our point guard as the team had to adjust through the season. So
yeah.
Not only that, I thought he handled everything with just such class and dignity this year. It was a really tough year for those guys with the Terrence Shannon situation. He was a leader. He battled his ass off every game. And even in games when he didn't score well, he contributed other places. And
the dude was playing 40 minutes a night, Kev.
Every night, man. Every night. So
and guess what, folks? Where was the ball at? Who had the ball most nights? Who had the ball on every night?
And was being hounded from a lot of teams. They thought the way to slow down our offense was to hound him to start, and he had to work really hard on the offensive end and still held his own defensively fairly well. So Marcus deserves all his flowers from Illinois fans. He might get another year with us. I don't know.
Everybody, for your questions, we will try to answer them as you ask. But remember, we want to try to stay on point because then we're going to be like talking about everything else.
Yeah,
So,
I'd love to get Marcus a sixth season if possible. But I don't know if Marcus wants to play another year of college basketball either. That's going to be up to him. He can certainly. I don't know if he can play in the league, and this isn't a knock on him. I think he's just a little bit too slow in his delivery on the 3-point shot, and I think he'd have to be a little bit more efficient with that. And he had probably his worst year shooting the three at Illinois, even though he made 3 big ones in the title game, the Elite Eight game, regional title game. But I think he definitely can go make some money playing
I was about
overseas.
to say, dude, he's going to be I think he'll be a mid 6-figure guy before he's said and done. He's going to
absolutely. But he can get that in one more year at Illinois. It's just whether or not he wants to or not, and he's going to lose a lot of his companions and his buddies. I mean, it's all of a sudden you're a little bit younger team, or you're bringing in new transfers, and what does that look like? So, but Marcus deserves all the flowers from every Illinois fan. Really appreciate what he did for Illinois. So
now let's. You know what? We've said so much about him, and there's other guys that we're going to talk about. But what I just don't is great, and it was awesome. Think about that. As you were just talking about, as Zach Edey, you know who scored literally 750, 60 points this year? Terrence Shannon.
Yeah.
The dude. Let's just be honest. The dude put up 1,300 points in 2 seasons at Illinois.
I was a little frustrated because I think he needed 17 points in the Elite Eight game to be Illinois' single tournament scoring leader, and obviously he didn't have that. But yeah, everything that Terrence's stuff is always going to be clouded until it's cleared.
And that's going to really. I honestly feel in the next 6 weeks it will be, because he's got his court hearing in early to mid-May, and I don't believe it's going to prolong past before the NBA draft. So.
Well, and when I believe he will be cleared and found not guilty. I believe that. I believe from what we know, unless there's something else out there, it's just nothing about it aligns. I'm going scorched earth on the national media. Whether or not that matters or not, I'm going scorched earth. I thought that everything that Terrence.
Megan's point, Kevin, read that out loud. It's true.
We could do an entire show on Terrence. Absolutely. The greatest single season in Illinois basketball history. He came to Illinois where his best scoring season was 12 points. He averaged, 17, 18 last year, 23 this year. Just played so hard and really was so foundational in this team having such a phenomenal offense, but also just really guarded his tail off on the other end. And not only that, he's not a really vocal guy, and he became a vocal leader this year. The effort that he puts in, my understanding, is a really, really good student as well. It hurts me a little bit, and I wonder what the school will do pending his, because he needs to be in the rafters.
I was about to say, you can't have your all-time, scoring leader in a season. I just feel like they know he was more than a third team All-American. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you heard all the people say he's the second best player in America during
even as good as Dalton Knecht played against Purdue in the Elite Eight. He still didn't have a better tournament. He still didn't have a better tournament than
that dude. Kudos to that guy. I mean, I love watching Dalton Knecht play. But I agree with you.
But I'm just saying. But when you have to have that conversation, when you're like the top 3 guys, it was like Edey and then Shannon and Knecht. That's just those were the top 3 players in the country this year. So, but to say that, but to not just that, but to be all East region, 2-time Big Ten first team All-American. And the last thing I'm going to say about Shannon, the thing that I'm going to miss the most, and the thing that I think that all his teammates who will move forward into this program, what's going to be ingrained in their mind, and what I want all you guys to have ingrained in your mind about Terrence Shannon. Think about how awesome of a player that dude was. And who was the first person on the floor diving for a ball?
Right. Absolutely.
That's what a leader is. You don't say, hey, that guy who's beaten up, who's got bandages all over. You could always tell he was gimpy. He played with his wrist taped. You think he was worried about diving for a ball? That dude right there that everybody knew is going to be in the league. At the end of the day, we're not going to sit here and say anything about he's guilty, because you don't go to court and just say you're guilty. You still go through your due process. Mm-hmm. So until I hear that, we talk about him as the free man he is. and say, at this rate, I think I've seen top 15 pick probably, you'd say?
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the legal stuff hanging over his head, that clouds it. He's a lottery pick if he gets the legal stuff cleared up. He is built for the NBA game. Where did he struggle with centers who camp out in the post? I'm sorry, where do centers camp out in the post in the NBA?
I know.
Rudy Gobert? I mean, who is it? I mean, there's a reason why Zach Edey's not highly thought of from a draft perspective. I think Klingen's more highly thought of because he is a better shot blocker. So I don't.
Yep. Deuce going scorched earth gonna hurt. Cry.
Yeah. Hey man, Uncle Silk, I have no idea. All it'll probably do is get me ignored, blocked, and muted. But you know what, dude? I'm gonna do it because it pisses me off. But I'm gonna come at it. I'm gonna come at it with some reason. So.
He may drop a little because of age, but he'll carve out a nice 5+ NBA career. I think it'll be more like 10. I think we all said 5+ for Io, and now look how Io's blossoming. What's crazy about Io is that you thought like year 2, 3, you'd see that jump. It's really been the end of this year for him, year 3.5. It's like,
it's the 2024 calendar year for him. So, you know, one thing that Terrence can certainly do, Terrence can come in and defend immediately at the NBA level, and he can get out and run. He can finish at the rim. He's going to be able to get out and run. Can he be consistent enough with the 3-point shot at that level?
I mean, he improved it enough to me to warrant a first-round pick. I mean,
I agree.
Yeah. And you know what? If we're debating on how many years he's going to be in the league, that's a good thing for Terrence. I hope he gets every dime he can get, and he'll probably end up with 20-30 million playing in the league. So another guy that I agree with should have his if he gets his name cleared, I think you've got to put him up there. You just can't – nobody would question that. Not one of the legends up in that would say, what's this guy done to deserve that?
Yeah, I agree.
Just have the best season in the program's history. That's it. Now, let's move forward a little bit. So as much as Quincy Guerrier, I say this. Quincy Guerrier had a lot of ups and downs, but he had some he was just like a double machine for about a month.
Yeah.
And like, I think you can't question his effort. I think there were some games. I think he was ailing a lot more than anybody ever was going to talk about. I know sometimes Coleman came out and was like, at the end of the year, like, I've been playing on one leg. Quincy's been playing with one wrist. Like, I think he hurt his wrist earlier in the year, and then he re-aggravated it somewhere. I think it may have been at Michigan when he got flipped. You remember?
Landing on the wrist, absolutely.
Landed back on his wrist and re-aggravated it. But in some big moments, he hit some really big threes, if you guys remember. And even in the tournament, he hit a couple real big threes when the momentum.
Iowa State, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He was also he was the oldest guy on the team and a real calming force. You even saw it at one point when we were getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, and the first half, I remember Quincy's like, "Hey guys, calm down, we got this." I mean, it didn't work, but he seemed to have that presence. I just really respect Quincy. I thought he always played hard. I don't think he ever didn't give it his all. I just think he had moments where his shot wasn't falling. He was trying to find himself, and we wouldn't have got where we got without Quincy Guerrier. I'm very, very appreciative that the third time we recruited him actually worked, because I wanted him out of high school. I wanted him when he transferred from Syracuse, and finally got him. And really appreciative of that guy.
Like in the video I made on Saturday on my car, I said, it's not always where you start; it's where you finish. And Quincy Guerrier was a guy it was that guy who just chased that woman and he just couldn't get her. She ended up being with all these other guys.
It finally circles back to you.
It finally circles back to you. And you can look at it however you want, right?
Yep.
It's like, but he finally, how did it work out for him? He's going to be a Big Ten champion that everybody's going to always remember. He's going to, every time he comes to State Farm Center, he's going to look up there and he can point to his little daughter and say, I was on that team. And that little ring, they'll probably let her wear around. But that's your daddy's ring from playing at Illinois. Now we'll move on to, he was kind of an enigma of some sort, but he kind of played. He played all right. He played against Yukon. He played tough. I'll say Justin Harmon. Justin Harmon, I would have loved to seen that kind of play the previous 2 weeks, but he looked like a guy who was real locked in against Yukon, but He kind of struggled the last couple during the postseason era, but he came up huge in a lot of games early to midway through the year that Justin Harmon played big minutes. And one thing I will say is Draven Gibbs Lawhorn got a lot of his minutes towards the end of the year, which is good for the program. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I love that Justin left it all out on the floor every game. I think he was a nice piece to this team. He helped us win some games. He just seemed he couldn't find his shot late in the season, and that would have really helped us if he could have. I mean, he started the season as a 40% 3-point shooter, and it could have stayed that way. It would have been really beneficial for this team. We could have used it, and he just lost his stroke a little bit. So that's unfortunate.
And last but not least, what's up, JR? Brian Ducey, Assembly Hall. Yeah. I said State Farm Center because that's what it is now.
Yeah, but always be Assembly Hall to us old heads.
Yeah. So
he's old. He's a lot older than me.
What are you, Brian? You about pushing 50?
He's 11 years older than me.
Damn, you are an old head. Shit. I'm not going to say he's gone yet because here's the funny thing. So Coleman Hawkins.
You're talking about Coleman. All
yeah,
right.
We're talking about Coleman Hawkins, okay? So if we have not learned one thing from Coleman all these years, come on, you guys. He says a lot. He says a lot of things. That doesn't always mean it's coming out from the best avenue or that it's 100%.
He's an emotional guy. He said it right after the season's over, right?
You know, it's like I think he realized how hard of a long of a journey it is to get to the Elite Eight. And then he's thinking, do I want to come back one more year and go through all this again with new teammates? You know, like is Domask
right. You put yourself in issues. Are you going to get Marcus Domask and Quincy Guerrier and Justin Harmon and even Dre and Moretti or guys in Ty or Sincere? Are you going to or are we going to get the next crop of Jaden Epps, Sky Clark, Matt Meyer? Because frankly, I don't think Coleman wants to deal with the latter again. No. There's a lot of things you can't really assess. You can look at things, and we'll talk about the transfer portal here in a little bit. You got these guys. I mean, Matt Meyer's an extremely talented basketball player, but he was a little bit of an oddball. Sky Clark and Jaden Epps seem to be a little bit me first players, and that's not a system that works. As we jump from Justin Harmon to Coleman Hawkins, I mean, Justin Harmon was the leading scorer on his team, and he came in here and was a complete role player and never complained about it one time.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big deal for Coleman, and I think Coleman truly wants to play the 5. Kurt just chimed in, get a true 5, and Coleman considered coming back. I also wonder how healthy he is and how it's going to work for NBA tryouts. Like, is he going to be healed up? Is he going to get the rest? Is the rest going to be something that's good enough for his knee to be in a place where he can really excel at the combine?
Here's another question though about that: is tendonitis in your knee just going to be better next year? You know, is it just going to go away?
It just normally goes away with rest.
Okay, well, so he's going to need to rest it for the next month. You know, so and that's especially with all those camps in mid to late May.
But it might really hurt his draft stock if he can't do it. So
yeah, so. Now, I think Coleman also wants to see who's leaving, who's coming back, and who they get in the portal.
Yes.
I think that's going to matter too, folks. If Illinois blows it and lays an egg and they don't have – and he's going to have to play the 5 again, I think, and Dane just left. You know, like, are they going to depend on Merez Johnson to play all those minutes at the 5 next year? Think about it.
Yeah, and Amani's more built for the 4.
Yeah, so I think he wants to play. He won't be a 5 in the NBA. I think he just wants to play a year where he's going to be playing in the NBA.
I'll tell you this right now. Coleman Hawkins is playing college basketball next year. It's at Illinois. Like, he is not leaving. I mean, I've been wrong before, and I could be wrong. I just see no way on God's green earth is Coleman Hawkins.
If he comes back for a 5th year for Illinois basketball, he will be revered like a Trent Frazier. I promise you.
Yeah.
People will always say, man, that dude came back. He wanted to play one more year for us. Like, come on, maybe he wants to get 4 and 5. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how amazing would that be, right?
Heck yeah.
So no, there's no answer yet with Coleman. And I'm sure you guys saw his dad post those really big eyes on eggs.
Rod always comes in with a little bit of voice of reason. And yes, Becky, Coleman – so silly from the NCAA that Coleman's senior class is the last class that can take the COVID year.
Yep.
So he can
have a free 5th year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's stupid. It should end this year, in my opinion. But
and yes, he could set the tone, Wally, and lead the team. Yes. Now, we got let's really quick before we get in the portal, we got to talk about Dane Danger. So, I tweeted this earlier today, and this is exactly how I feel about it. I am really, really happy that we got to see Dane get major minutes and be a difference maker and help the team to the Big Ten title, because without him, they sure as hell don't beat Ohio State.
Nope.
No way in hell they beat Ohio State. And how big was he? Even in the Big Ten title game, he was massive. You know, he had some big minutes against Wisconsin and big buckets on Crowell. And then in the tournament, come on now, 21-8 on Morehead State. I mean, he was dominant. He was 9 for his first 9 in the NCAA, you guys.
Yeah.
And he had big moments against Iowa State in the Sweet 16 too. You know, so Dane Danger is getting his flowers, and apparently he's getting his degree too. So you know what?
Yeah, kudos, absolutely.
Kudos. So think about this. He got a national championship at Baylor as a redshirt. Okay. He leaves, comes to Illinois, sits out a year. Then he plays 2, and he's leaving Illinois with the Big Ten championship ring, a Big Ten champion, and he's leaving with his degree, and he gets to go somewhere else to try to be the man and be the guy. Because he wasn't going to be the guy next year at Illinois, and I think he already knew that. And I think the staff let him know that too.
I think that the staff is embracing a style of basketball that doesn't necessarily work for Dane, right? He is.
Oh, I love the behind the back against Iowa State in the Sweet 16 tie.
If he could have pulled it off, it would have been amazing.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we were up 2 with 3 minutes left. I did about throw my Coke, but I was just like, and then I was thinking, if he went, oh my God, I was like, what? And you see Brad Underwood's reaction, that was priceless.
So the thing about Dane is like, all right, it's really challenging to have Dane and Ty on the floor at the same time. It's also very challenging to run the true back to the back big man when we're trying to when the back down booty ball, bully ball, whatever you want to call it, is working. The ISO ball, there's a reason ISO ball works in the NBA, and I've already covered this, because you don't have a center camped out in the lane with his back to the basket, right? That's not, they want to spread the floor. And I think that's something that Illinois really wants from a big. Now you can get that in a big that is a true 5. Well, Coleman's a true 4. I think you can get that in a true 5 who can still spread the floor and shoot the 3. There's the kid from Stanford. There's some other kids out there that we're looking at. So I don't believe that Dane's the right fit. And I've heard a lot of people complain, well, he should have played more, Well, I'm sorry. Very early on in the season, he was a little bit out of shape, and he wasn't playing good defense. And we were a team who could find ways to score. That's one thing that Dane Danger is never going to have a problem doing, putting the ball in the bucket. He is so nimble, and he's so talented around the rim. Right hand, left hand, incredible. So when you have a team that's struggling to score.
Neil Alexander, if you're watching, help us get Jeff on the show. We love Jeff. Great.
Yeah,
he's our favorite assistant. I love his style, man. The no shocks with those gator
cool, man.
With those gator skins. Oh my. Okay. Anyway,
I talked to him about how he got fit too. Yeah. No, so like I think there's Dane's just a bad fit. So it's awesome. So yeah, exactly. Jay Bagan said it best. When Dane came to Illinois, we had Kofi, and Brad's changed schematically, and we have. And I think that this is a style not only that works. We had the number 1 offense in the country for a period of time this year. But it also, and this will lead right into the perfect segue, it's a really attractive brand of basketball for guys to play. It's a really attractive brand of basketball for AJ Storey to look at and say, man, I can do the Marcus Domask things. I can do the Terrence Shannon things. I could come in there. I could average 20 a game. Like there's aspects of this from, Kedrick Prince has talked about it. I've heard it on Illini guys. I've heard it over and over and over again. Illinois was getting inquiries about whether guys would want to transfer to Illinois before the season ended, like big time ball players. So we're a very attractive destination. We got some NIL money. We were freeing some up.
And it sounds like they're adding more.
They should be. We just went on an Elite 8 run. So
I was about to say, how much money do you think they got from that? Come on. I don't know. Yeah, a bunch. So with that said too, and I got to mention, Merez Johnson is a 6'9.5" competitive, tireless, endless monster. He's a beast, and the dude can shoot it from 3. I want everybody to know
He's
that.
really long. I mean, he's almost Cliff Omarui long, and with a better jump shot.
Yeah, and he's shooting from 3. I want everybody to know that. We're thinking, oh, Merez is a back to the basket guy. He can shoot from 15 to 20 feet. He can pull.
Merez is a rebound dunk on your head guy.
Oh yeah, I don't know if he's as quick twitch an athlete as Omarui, but I think he's just behind it. But I think his motor is just relentless, and I think his ceiling is way better offensively, way better.
I agree with you.
I mean, if you look at Cliff is just now where he's like, I can make free throws.
I love Cliff. I'd take him.
I know. I'm just saying. But 4 years into your stint, and everybody's like, he made both free throws. It's like, all right, at some point before that, you should have been maybe.
It's kind of weird that guys are going in the portal when they've got their best recruiting class ever. It's like, man.
And you see Harry Potter. We reached out to Harry Potter. Come on.
We did. That kid's pretty skilled. But,
Gavin Griffiths. We reached. Yeah. Come on. There's no way you can take a guy that we were jeering as being Harry Potter and talking about.
He was a top 50 recruit, man. He can play.
Yeah. I just don't see that happening. He's not a priority. I think they just reached out and probably apologized for our fans. So transfer portal madness has begun, as you guys know. Dane Danger hit the portal earlier. There's always going to be a spot, and as he mentioned, he is an Illinois graduate, and he will always be an Illini. He'll always have a degree from Illinois, and he'll always have his Big Ten title from Illinois. So we're going to wish him great, and I hope he doesn't go to Minnesota, because that would probably make sense, because they lost Pharrell Payne. And he is from Minnesota, and I think he showed he can be a productive big, and that wouldn't be surprising to me if he does go to Minnesota. So Illinois landed Jake Davis from Mercer, okay? Now, I posted earlier a nice little video I took about 2 minutes. He shot 40% from deep. He made 63 pointers in a true freshman season, Kevin. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, go watch his highlights. That's everybody needs to go watch his highlights.
I wanted to put him on here. I should have loaded him on here, you guys. If I was focusing more on getting prepared for the show beforehand, and then some other shit going on, as a dad, you got other things happening. But
he comes off a curl and fires really quick. Got a high release. He's big.
He sees through the hair.
Yes,
that's what I'm impressed.
He's 6'6". Played at Cathedral in Indianapolis. Was a good player there.
Man, I talked to Dre Gibbs Lawhorn today. Okay.
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
They know each other.
They do. So that's why I reached out. They're AAU teammates, and I said, Jake looks legit. I said he looks like an everyday guy, and he said, "Oh, he is. Like he plays D." He loves to play defense. Do you see he took the most charges in the history of Indiana State basketball?
I did not.
So, yes, he was a football player. He's a tough-nosed kid, physical. That's why Brad loves him. I want everybody to know that. This dude's a competitor. And remember, Brad's getting 6'6" wings. The big guards, the big wings is continuing. He's not going to settle for anything less. Brad's not.
And from a build standpoint, like Jake Davis, watch him when he can finish around the rim with both hands. He's right-handed. He can finish around the rim with both hands.
Fletcher, Sanderson.
He could be a Marcus player. I mean, that's a big shoes to fill. So
is Sanderson, by the way, is he not on the staff now, or they let him go, or was it something they're trying to sign him to another year or something?
I don't know. I mean,
I think it was like a temporary role.
Yeah, I thought it was more like a like we did with Jim Leonard.
Oh, okay. But so I want everybody to know that Jake Davis, he loves defense. He took the most charges in the history of Indiana State basketball at Cathedral. He was a football player. He's a dude who's not afraid of contact. Obviously takes pride in his shooting. He was 85% from the line too this year.
Yep.
So a high IQ kid, not afraid to go after a loose ball, take a charge. That's just a Brad Underwood kid. That's just a Brad Underwood player.
And Lucas Colbrecki asked, is he a Luke Goody replacement? I don't think so. I think it's more of a Justin Harmon. That's the role he's replacing. And
Luke Goody
we'll see.
coming back too is something people have been talking to me about. They've been saying maybe he wants to go to like Harvard to get his master's or something. I mean, at the end of the day, if that's what he's focusing on, like a Yale or a Princeton, maybe makes sense. If he's wanting to play at a high level and then try to get his master's somewhere, those two would make more sense than Harvard. I don't think Harvard.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think he comes back. I think Luke wants to finish here, man. I really do. I know that we walked in today, but
Hawkins and Luke are like this. I can promise you, if Coleman comes back, Luke will be back. But if Coleman leaves, I think the chances of Luke leaving are definitely better. I do believe that. I know,
and I'll miss him tremendously. But then Jake Davis, in essence, is a Luke Goody replacement.
Yeah. Yep.
He can put the ball on the floor and get to the hole a little bit too, guys. I mean, it's not like he's just a spot-up shooter, but he's got the ability to really fire quickly, and he's got world-class hair. So go check him out.
I'm gonna get off here real quick. I'm gonna go grab me a drink. I'm gonna want you to mention. I want the next name for people to be looking out from that. Just from what you've heard, I know you mentioned AJ Storey. Is there anyone else maybe with him that we've probably maybe hinted at or discussed on here? Who's the next? Who's another name? Obviously, AJ Storey's one, and me and you can debate that here in a minute if you want. But who else? Maybe a big. What about a big?
Oh man, I was going to go with a guard from Bowling Green.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, and are you talking about Marcus Hill?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what have you been hearing about Marcus Hill, and what do you like about his game?
Marcus Hill is a 6'4" guard from Bowling Green, Rockford kid, friends with AJ Storey, played a little bit of high school ball together. Marcus Hill is really impressive when you watch his highlights. And once again, I hate to keep doing this, but he's got an extreme amount of patience when he gets in the lane and around the rim. That is really something you don't see. He averaged 20 points a game this year for Bowling Green. I believe he might have transferred in from junior college. So he's listed as a junior. 5 rebounds a game, couple assists. Didn't shoot tremendously well from 3, but he is he's 6'4", almost 200 pounds. Really good player. Might be a deal that makes it more enticing for AJ Storey to come to Illinois if that's really where we're going to put the biscuits in the basket there. But go watch Marcus Hill highlights, man. It's impressive. And guys from the MAC have had some really good runs at other places. Look no further than Alabama in the Final Four with Marcus Sears. What's going on there? So Marcus
Alabama's already reached out to Marcus Hill.
I really like Marcus Hill's game. I like it a lot.
So. And yes, he did. He was a stud in junior college. Before he went to Bowling Green, he was a stud JUCO performer. I believe it was Garden State. I think that's
Kansas.
In Kansas. He had 700 points in his first season at Bowling Green. I'm just saying he was literally a point behind, or one whole point behind Terrence Shannon, really, at the end of the year. So the dude's a scoring machine. You don't really question the 3-point shooting ability. When a guy can pretty much get to his spot, he's got good size. He's basically a more agile, like Ravonte Rice. You know what I mean? Like he's 6'4". He's a bully. He can play bully ball. He's a little quicker athlete. But I only say Ravonte because that dude would do a lot of his work around the rim and attacking the glass and getting to his spots. But yeah, I like Marcus Hill's game, and I know a lot of people are kind of chirping at me and telling me, it could be a package deal, those two. So,
yeah, and the thing is, he's a 6'4" guard, which fits with more what Brad Underwood likes, because I love Kevin Miller from Wake Forest, Chicago kid, averaged 15 points a game, would have a couple years of eligibility. Shot 36.5% from 3 and 84% of his free throws. Like he's a guy to keep an eye on. If Kevin Miller and Marcus Hill are two guys to really keep an eye on from that guard spot.
Yeah, and that was another name I wanted to mention because people are going to start asking. But I think AJ Storey is a one more year guy, and then he's going to the league. And I think yes. Brad Underwood would be okay for a AJ Storey 1 year at Illinois thing. So that's why. I don't know if he's an everyday guy in the sense that you're talking about, but I think he's such a talent that we saw him play against Illinois. Look how good he was for most of the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, and I think that, dude, if you're going to commit to come play for Brad Underwood, I think, especially if you're an AJ Storey, I have no questions about AJ Storey's ability to play basketball. I have questions with AJ Storey's ability to really be cut in. There was a game against Purdue in Madison in February. It was a 2-point game with 4.5 minutes to go, and he didn't come back in the game. And so that's where I have some concerns. And Jake Murad says I could be in a Matt Meyer 2.0. I don't know if it's Matt Meyer, but I do think is he more of a me player than a we player? Because if he's more of a me player than a we player, it could be a problem. But especially if Marcus Domask is gone, especially if Coleman Hawkins is gone, there's the opportunity laid out there for a basketball player at Illinois to come be the next All-American. It's there. You can come do it, man. So
the reason why it doesn't bother me, and I see all these people worrying about the 7 school, he's only going to be at Illinois 1 year. I want you guys to know this, okay? He's not going to be at 2. He's going to the league after this year. I mean, the dude's talented enough. He's an athletic specimen. The dude floats in the air, okay? I remember that layup against us in Madison. You remember that, Kevin?
Oh, gosh, the alley-oop lay-in?
Yes. The dude was levitating. He waited in the air for a second while he was up at the rim and caught it. Just was let me just put it in here real quick. And then he was thinking, probably looking at his watch on the way down, the dude, a better athlete than Terrence Shannon. That tells you something. Not quicker, but better job.
He's a springer. He's bouncing.
Yeah, better springy, twitchy, vertical jump. Yeah, just he's a specimen, and you don't say no to guys like that who just scored 17 points a game in the Big Ten. Second league team, all Big Ten. Definitely from the state. And then let's say he has a really good buddy who scored 21 at Bowling Green, who, you want scoring, right? We need guys that can fit, who can play together, who, Brad Underwood wants this 80 to 90 point per game thing to continue. So you just got to keep it rolling.
Yeah, Uncle Silk, he didn't play the last 4.5 minutes against Purdue in a 2-point game in Madison when he came out of the game. Greg Gard never put him back in the game.
Yeah, but I want to say this. Does that mean that was AJ Storey's fault, or was that Greg Gard being Greg Gard? Because I can tell you this. We could bring a ton of Wisconsin fans on here and let them go off on Greg Gard.
Fair enough.
Greg Gard's not some beloved man in Madison. I can tell you that.
But I will say this: this is all very it's kind of shocking. We got a commitment already, right?
He was waiting to commit. I was literally told.
Yes.
That the staff told all the guys they're talking to, and Brad. Let me make this clear. Brad Underwood hates this, by the way. Yes. They were trying to prepare for an Elite 8 game, and he had to make recruiting calls. People. He was prepping for Yukon, and they're like, you probably was Jake, it's probably hey, man, yeah, appreciate you. Yeah, you're going to have to wait till a couple days. If we go to the Final Four, you're going to have to wait even longer, So it's who wants to do that? You're trying to focus on the moment, and he had to make calls. You know why? Because guys like Kevin Miller are like, oh, you're not that interested? I'll keep going. Hey, right. Alabama's answering my calls, and they're still playing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hey, Frankie Fiddler, Omaha, 6'7" wing, hitting 35% of his threes. There's just tons of guys that are out there.
And so it's you have to do it, or guess what? You're going to miss out. If Kevin Miller, who's been in the portal 2 weeks, it's if you want him, you better be making calls and you better be talking to him.
Or St. Thomas, the guy who started at Loyola Chicago and now Northern Colorado, and we saw what the guy from Northern Colorado did, and he's really impressive. I mean, there's just tons of guys out there in the portal. Danny Wolf, we talk about we need a big, Danny Wolf is definitely a guy to keep an eye on. I worry about Danny Wolf doesn't really give us that rim protection, and neither does Maxime Ranud from Stanford.
That's the big that I was hoping you were going to say. Yes.
Right.
7'1", 250 pounds, really nice athlete. That could be our
6% from 3.
Yeah, that could be our Klingon in the post. We have a 7'1" athletic shot blocker who can stretch the floor. But then on defense, we could have him around the rim a little bit and protect some shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like I want people to know that, in my opinion, from what I've heard from people the Raynaud kid from Stanford is really like their 1A or 1B big that they're really wanting right now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that play behind the scenes. One person said, oh, they're trying to get through some admissions issues, some of the things that Shannon had to go through because the University of Illinois doesn't want 3-year college kids coming to Illinois to get their degree, which is as stupid as it's just stupid. But you know what? Terrence Shannon did that, and guess what? They let Terrence Shannon do it. And so if there's a will, there's a way. And I can promise you, if it's about winning and this program to continue, and even if there's money involved, Josh Whitman will get it done with NIL. And
one of the things that really helped Terrence Shannon's case out is he was a really good student at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a guy at Stanford here. So
that's what I'm saying. I would hope Raynaud's a good student. I mean, he was at Stanford.
Right. I mean, why do you go to Stanford to play basketball? It's probably because you're pretty smart.
Yes.
You know? He was a 15-5 and 10 rebound guy. I mean, he doesn't block a lot of shots. 2 assists per game for a 7'1" guy.
No, he may not block shots, but he alters them. There's the thing, though.
Yeah, he would be a huge get, in my opinion.
Oh, my goodness. Like, that's the one that you guys all need to look at and watch some of his highlights. That's a difference maker in the post for Illinois because
80% free throw shooter, 36% from 3.
It almost makes you salivate, to be honest with you, if you keep
it is, especially with the way this team wants to play. It's a little Brooke Lopez-esque. I've heard some people talk here about Vlad Golden. All right, my opinion on Vlad Golden is kind of twofold. If he doesn't go to Michigan, you better damn well believe like Bill Self is going to be breathing down his neck and with that Kansas bag. And I don't know if we can compete with that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, Vlad Golden's a guy that won't play a lick of D, but let me tell you, offensively, he's a stud, and you see how he can rim run. And I like his fears. He's a nasty competitor, which I like.
Same.
Yeah, and we watched him play in the Garden. I watched his big run in the Final Four last year. And I always enjoyed watching Florida Atlantic play, and they are an aesthetically pleasing. What's Michigan's going to be here in a couple years,
right?
With Dusty May, they're gonna kind of look like Florida Atlantic did. They may not play defense, but they're going to try to be Illinois-ish. They're going to try to look good, score a lot of points, pass the ball, be very team oriented.
But once again, Vlad doesn't shoot the 3.
No, but he showed he can shoot the 15 to 17 footer pretty well.
Yeah, you got to. I really think that the Underwood style and thought process with what he's brought in with what Underwood and what Jay Wright. I mean, go look at those Jay Wright Villanova teams. They didn't have a big back to the basket big clogging the lane. No,
they had bigs that could shoot the 3.
Yep, 6'8", 6'9" guys that shoot the 3. And by the way, those really good Villanova teams would struggle with the Purdue's and Yukons of this year. They would.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think.
And then Kylan Boswell's another name, possibly might enter the portal, grew up in Champaign. He's kind of had a couple.
I got to be honest, he has not impressed me. I'm going to be honest.
No. But I mean.
Like he deferred to Love so much, and Love was such a – not just a ball hog, but he was just crazy wild. And but Boswell would be open, and he'd always just give it up to Love. And I'm thinking – dude, if you're the leader and this is your team, man, take the shot.
Well, here's a number for you. If you play 30 games in a season and you take 13 shots a game, 13 field goals attempted per game is a pretty high number in college basketball. That's 400 shots. That's the difference in shot attempts in their career between Caleb Love and Terrence Shannon Jr. Caleb Love has played 1 season less of college basketball than Terrence Shannon Jr. and has taken 400 more shots. So maybe it wasn't Kylan Boswell's fault.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah.
And can you believe people are like, oh yeah, Caleb Love, I'm sure NBA teams are gonna love him. I'm like
he's reminds me of the guy from Syracuse that he played on the Thunder and the Cavs. I can't think of his name. I'll come to me.
Hold on a second. What year? What year was he on the team?
Syracuse. His name will pop in my head.
Johnny Flynn.
No. He played. This guy had a couple good runs in the NBA with the Heat and the Thunder.
I know. Oh, no, Dion Waiters.
Dion Waiters, yes. We actually, at my gym, we also call it Dion Waiters Irrational Confidence Day.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, like he's not in the league anymore, I don't believe.
No, he shot himself out of the league.
Yeah, he shot himself out of the league. Yeah, there you go. So I think we've really covered a lot of the most important names at the moment, but there's more and more coming. I think there's a sneaky backdoor one if some of these guys fall through. He's not in the portal yet, but I think if Avila from Indiana State hit the portal, I think Illinois would be very interested in him. And I say that is because he's a 6'10" big that shoots like 40% from deep.
Yeah, and he does clog the lane. I mean, he does.
Yeah, he's not super. Yeah, he gets in the way, and he can post up, and he's got moves around the rim. I think, yeah. So that's another name, and the reason why I say that is there's the Mean Streets background because he played for the Mean Streets. Ty Streets, Ty Rogers, and him were teammates.
Yep,
and know each other. So yeah, we got Kevin Miller, Marcus Hill. We've got AJ Store, Ray Nod. Yeah. I said Avila, and then Illinois has reached out to some other guys. You know what? If push comes, as much as I got to be honest, he doesn't shoot the three. But man, if we had to take a guy like Pharrell Payne, I'd be like, oh, okay.
I love Pharrell Payne. I love Pharrell Payne.
I know. I'd be like, for a guy who could come in and play 15, 20 minutes, I'd be like, all right, yeah.
Dude, that rebounding and dunking it, put it on your head, effort, defense. That dude is Dante Maddox from Toledo. There's another one, Jay Bagan. Yeah. Cam Christie, guys, that's a pipe dream. The Christies aren't going to do – they want nothing to do with Illinois. That's a Wolves program. And what's the head guy at the Wolves? He just does not like Illinois.
Yeah, Brian Mullins or whatever.
Brian Mullins, yeah, that's exactly it.
Isn't Jax just a Wolves kid?
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think he is, but I can tell you, I don't think they were pointing him to Illinois. I think he just did it himself.
Well, Jackson was a outside the top 100 3-star kid too, so you get an offer from Illinois. It's a little bit different than when you're recruiting the Christies, right?
Jay Began, good. I'm good on you for mentioning Dante Maddox.
Yeah.
And Phil Garrison, Cliff Omaruyi to Yukon. I'm sure probably. Like at this point,
but doesn't Danny Hurley hate the transfer portal, even though half his team's from the transfer portal?
Yeah. Mike Mullins, yes, Mike Mullins, not Brian Mullins. There's so many Dan.
Brian Mullins was
Brian Mullins. Yeah. And by the way, how asinine of SIU to fire Brian Mullins.
Listen, honestly, I'd fire a guy too if you had Xavier Johnson, Marcus Domask, and Lance Jones and couldn't make an NCAA tournament. I'd fire you too.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm just saying, dude, that's bad.
Yeah,
that's bad.
They didn't all play like they did this year.
Well, that's your fault then, Coach.
Yeah. What was it? But you know what? One man's trash is another's treasure. Chris Holtman picked him up, and they're already scooping up. They got Gunn from Indiana, CJ Gunn. They got Jeff D'Amico, Southern's second best player from this year on the team up there in DePaul. By the way, they also offered Jake Davis from Mercer, so I want everybody to know that. So Thad Mata and Butler offered him. Chris Holtman offered him at DePaul.
I'm going to go back to the Dante Maddox thing, by the way.
All right.
Like, dude, the guy made 40% of his threes this year. He averaged 15 points a game for Toledo. 15 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, couple steals. He's a threat, and had a nice only a turnover per game, 1.5 turnovers per game, 86% from the line. He shot 45% from 3 last year. He's from Chicago Heights. He'd be a grad guy to play one. Started out at Cal State Fullerton.
We're gonna devote about 2 minutes to rip Dan Hurley apart here in a second. The
guy shot 40% from 3 on 5.6% attempts per game. Like the Dante Maddox is a guy to keep an eye on, man.
I mean, if Dante Maddox is a guy we settle for instead of Marcus Hill, I'll be all right.
He's a better 3-point shooter. It's all depending on what they want.
So the Dan Hurley thing to me is like he admitted it today on Colin Cowherd. He said he makes up quotes and he misinterprets quotes on purpose. to get his guys fired up like they aren't believed in, the underdog. And I think he did it with Sean Harrington too. He knew that Sean Harrington wasn't on Illinois' staff. Like, Sean Harrington is just an ESPN analyst.
Right.
He's not on the staff of Illinois. So he said, oh, yeah, one of the Illinois staffers, Sean Harrington, who's a former McDonald's All-American, which Sean was not. But Sean loved the pub, though. Yeah, I think he thanked him for it. It was like, oh, yeah, saying that, yeah, man, they play teams like this all the time. Yukon's not going to be able to out-physical them. And then today, Colin Cowherd asked him about it, and he goes, oh, yeah, I find clips and interviews, and sometimes I exaggerate the truth, and it's just like, dude, like, if you're that hard up to get your team fired up, I mean, I know it's working for them, but I don't really think they need that.
Yeah.
I think the talent's already there.
And hey, another guy, somebody put a Plano AD. Appreciate you, Xavier Amos. Got to keep an eye on
from NIU.
Yes, dude, shot blocker, can shoot the three. Probably I hate to say it because I'm not trying to crap on Quincy, but probably an upgrade over Quincy.
See, this is why our devoted Keeping It Orange and Blue. You guys keep us honest. Anytime we miss something, you guys are there. We appreciate it. And that's why. Before we get to final thoughts, we got some, in the next couple of weeks, this Keeping It Orange and Blue is going to be getting part of just an awesome community. Big things are happening with the podcast. We're going to be joining a community of other likewise podcasts for other schools, and can't give the name of it yet or who all is a part of it and what it's going to be entailing. But as soon as the hoop season's over, man, we're going to get to it and we're going to hit it hard. And our podcast is going to be a lot of other places, and we're going to be doing a lot of cross promotions, having a lot of other podcasts on our shows to talk about matchups and all kinds of other things. And we'll be doing the same thing. So super excited about that. And the formal announcement and all the big other information on that's going to be here after, I think, the 10th to somewhere after in the second week of April. So we're just super excited here at Keeping It Orange and Blue, and you guys. And if you guys have not subscribed on our YouTube channel, please do. I think I've seen some other YouTube. I've seen some other Illini shows who there's no way in heck have this kind of eyes that we do on this, and people that have been watching this for years. Just subscribe on YouTube. I think we're not even to 500 yet, but
yeah, make up a name and subscribe.
Yeah, just make up another one and subscribe, you guys. Like, here's the thing. Everybody watches it on X, so they don't do it on YouTube, Yeah. So that's the thing about this show, which at the end of the day, it's cool. But it's also good to have that YouTube community, and we're trying to build that YouTube channel too, and so we appreciate that. But other than that, Kev, any other name real quick transfer-wise you want to talk about before we get to final thoughts?
Yep, Plano AD coming through too. Ritus.
The Greek kid from Air Force. Yeah, I like him.
Petratus.
I've watched the Air Force a couple times this year. They were dreadful.
I don't know if you can teach the Marcus Domask footwork and patience, but oh my goodness, is that guy not Thomas Walkup, Marcus Domask 2.0 from a size skill standpoint? It'd be interesting. So,
what's Jeff G saying? Supposedly another chip into the week.
I don't know. Maybe another commit.
Another domino. You talking about? Chip?
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, so and I think I want you to know, retired Plano AD, I guess since you're retired, you have a lot of free time. So you're able to kind of read and scope up everything. But I appreciate you. We were just trying to hit the main 4 to 5 that I know the staff's really hitting and trying to work.
This is what's so fun is like,
yeah,
it's so widespread right now.
Yeah, Greg
staff's really gonna have to put some time and focus in there on what they want. So
Jeffrey G, spoiled by TSJ portal. Oh, we're spoiled by having Terrence Shannon.
Yeah, we are absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's what we got him out of the portal, right? It worked for us.
So, my final thought. I'll go first here, Kev. Another awesome episode. Appreciate all you guys watching, and if you've retweeted on X, and if you subscribe and follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave us a review on those if you guys are listening. If you guys listen to this, anyone listening to this on Spotify or Apple, leave us a review and give us a star. We would love to see that and hear your thoughts. If you can't comment on YouTube or X, that's fine too. But my final thought is briefly, I want to mention the Illinois baseball team's been rolling here lately, man.
Penn State.
They just swept Penn State. They took 2 out of 3 from Indiana and Bloomington, which is the first time in maybe 15, 16 years they've done that. So it looks like they're going to be a contender and look like they can play for an NCAA tournament bid this year, which is really good.
Especially the way the season started.
Yeah, it did not start well. I was really about to get on there and start kind of throwing some tomatoes up there because I was like, this ain't good. Yeah, so congrats to that. They got it rolling in the Big Ten play, and I want to make my deepest sympathies with Vontae Davis, and some fond memories of Vontae. I did a show with Britt, the Oski Hour for a little bit, and I know he's taken this really hard because I know that they were really close, and that's just something you take life for granted, man. And sometimes I think you just need to take a deep breath and realize that no days is guaranteed. So we will miss Vontae, All-American, 3-time All Big Ten performer. You can't take that for granted. A 2-time Pro Bowler. We will miss him. With that being said, Illinois also losing David Gibbs, resigning.
Yeah, prayers for him and his family.
Prayers for him. Don't know the medical condition. Some people are saying, I don't think something about COVID-related stuff and him not wanting to get a shot. I don't know. They get the vax. I don't know exactly what it is. And I won't speculate, even though I did to a degree. But whatever it is, we hope he's okay. We are glad that he chose to want to coach here. And I know Brett Bielema is going to worry about hiring someone else after spring ball is over. So that revolves into spring balls here. Let's try to enjoy that for the next 3 weeks. I know I'll be kind of locked in with that with the transfer portal as well. And that's what these shows will be about for the next month. Kev?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the transfer portal will dominate a lot of coverage. Obviously, we'll talk a lot of spring game, but, once again, just sad situation with Vontae Davis. Actually talked to a buddy of mine who was like – part of the management team at the apartment complex that Vontae stayed at, said he was like the nicest guy in the world. Since you already talked about baseball, I'll refrain from talking about Illinois softball.
No, go for it.
Yeesh. No, you know me. You know what I got to talk about. Golf team won a tournament the other day, right. And Thomas Dietrich finished second this weekend, and he's not won a professional tour event, and he's been very, very close, a DP or PGA Tour. He missed so many putts late by like a quarter of an inch. It was really frustrating. It had an opportunity there to win those. And then one thing I'd like to share is it was not the best follow-up sophomore season for Shauna Green and the Illini women, but they are in the women's basketball invitational tournament championship game. I
forgot that. Thank goodness you were good. I'm so happy you brought that up, dude. Good.
They dump trucked Washington State tonight, and frankly, they looked like the team. They looked like the NCAA tournament team they were last year. They started the season just trying to find their way a little bit. Makira Cook was hurt and just wasn't herself really for the first quarter of the season. Really put them behind the 8 ball. This team showed over the course of the season that they are a pretty good team. They will play Villanova on Wednesday night in Indianapolis for the women's basketball invitational tournament championship. So good for them.
Anytime you can hoist a trophy, hey.
And you look at the roster.
They're coming back too. Most of those girls will be back.
Every single player other than Camille Hobby can come back on that team, and they're adding what's the young lady, a stud freshman coming in. And probably will get like a transfer portal big, but they're Barry Wallace is really good basketball player. So
I know that Kendall Bostic graduated. And I hope she comes back. I know she can, but she I think set Illinois' all-time rebounding record at Illinois for women's basketball.
I love Kendall Bostic. Love the way she plays. So
yeah, dude, Kendall Bostic is an undersized big. She's like 6'2" and guarding 6'5" girls and still out rebounds them. But they beat Iowa last year, Phil. They beat Iowa last year. But I think Genesis Bryant will be back. Makaira Cook's coming back. So awesome things with the women's team. Really quick, before we get off here, this is important, Kevin. I think this will mean something to you too. I got one of the reasons why I love doing this show, and it's getting to know so many cool people. Like there's a woman named Susan Hart who I used to do these periscopes, and there were some nights I'd have 5 people watching. And then a year later, I had 100 people watching. And 2 years later, I had 200 people watching. And there was always one woman who'd been watching me from the beginning. Her name was Susan Hart. Well, she passed away last year from cancer, and she sent me some just sweet messages that helped me get through some hard times that I was going through. And she knew about the things that had been happening to me and what people were saying. And she would always tell me, I just want to let you know what you are doing and what you're saying. I just appreciate it. And I watch your show from the hospital when I'm getting my chemotherapy. And you don't even know how much that meant, Kev. So
it's awesome, man.
And she told me before she passed away, that my shows helped keep her in good spirits and keep her mind off of things. So I want everybody to know I did go to her funeral over the summer, and I hugged her daughter, Katie, and she just thanked me for coming and just told me how much her mom loved my podcasts. Well, I have another gentleman. His name is Norm. This is what he sent to me, and I want to end with this. Hello, this is Norm. I live in southern Arizona, close to the border of Mexico. I've never actually lived in Illinois, but I've always been destined to be an Illini fan. I think Lou Henson coached in New Mexico, at New Mexico State. I don't know why, but yes. Yep. I wanted to tell you how much enjoyment I get out of your Sunday night Keeping It Orange and Blue podcast. I had a rough year and a half battling cancer, and my wife died as recently as well. So the podcast just makes my week. Kevin and you are great guys. I can relate to you guys. Thanks so much. Keep up the good work. And then I said, I'm so happy to hear that. I will mention you on the show tomorrow. I said, God bless you, and thanks for reaching out. He said, thanks for replying, and have a great resurrection day. And that was on Easter. And I said, amen. God is good. And with that, Swami out.
ILL.